Hi, I'm Bob Snider, and I'm going to be doing a quick watercolor demo of a horse racing scene. For reference, I'm using a photograph that I got off the internet for free. If you Google free horse racing scene, you'll see this and about 10,000 others. But I'm going to be doing a very impressionistic, loose feeling watercolor scene of a horse racing. So here we go. First thing I'm going to do, I've already done the sketch, as you can see here, and that's pretty much based on the horses. Design is a big deal, and people know that horses have 4 legs, and you need to be able to count them and give as an accurate representation as you can. What I'm going to do first is use Frisket, which is sort of like rubber cement, and I'm going to use this to preserve the white areas that I want to preserve. There are just a few in here that are very important, but one of the things about watercolor that gives it that great quality is the idea that the beautiful white part of the paper is something that we are preserving. Now there are 2 or 3 ways, but one of the things that I love about horse racing is this idea of water splashing. And so I always grab a toothbrush like this. I've got some of this Frisket stuff, and I'm going to spread it on here, sprinkle it, and it creates this idea of water splashing. Because those horses, when they get to running, they do make a mess. So that's what I'm doing, and that's pretty much it for the Frisket thing. Now I'll just take a hairdryer. Take a big flat brush and my palette here, I've got the greens and the yellows and the reds over here and the blues over there and the darks over there. I'll probably end up, because I love to experiment with color, I'm going to start on the horses. So all I'm going to do at this point is just very quickly and loosely, as you can see, create the horse shapes. Now, I'm not really trying to paint horses at this point. I'm just painting a shape that represents a horse. There are going to be a lot of lines and a lot of shapes on this. The important thing is that some of them be right. This is going to be kind of the out of focus part of the picture, so it doesn't really matter. It's helpful sometimes to the more important horses, like this guy right here. Use a darker paint for that. But you can see it's all kind of flowing together. That's good. Now this guy in the back there, I'm going to actually push him back a little bit. One of the ways you can do that is using a softer color like this is gray. So, see how that kind of pushes him back. This horse is a little more prominent. So I'm going back to the burnt sienna idea. I'm going to let these colors kind of mix together, which it's doing. Now this is just sort of the first pass. We'll go back to that gray. There's kind of horse back there somewhere. And I think I'll just finish with that idea as well. So that the center is focused to the dark horse right there. Okay, now that's kind of the first pass of the horse racing scene. Now I have to think about what are the other major shapes. The other major shapes are the background around the horses. So the way that I typically approach this is to wet this area. Everything except the, just right around the riders, right around those shapes, because this is really going to be blended. The background is important, but we're just trying to create a feeling. And the way that I typically do this is to make the background dark, and kind of a dark green color usually works. That's kind of a racetrack-y color. I'm mixing burnt sienna and phthalo green. Hope it works. There we go. It is just sort of floating into the those wet areas and blending. Watercolor is so wonderful. It does the work for you. Sometimes if you just kind of get out of the way. Now I may step this color here just so that it won't be the same thing. I'm going to move this to a lighter color in the center, like kind of a cad yellow going or something like that. And now I'm going to go back to the darker color. Now, you get the point there. Okay, now the next large area to be concerned about is the foreground. So I'm going to go ahead and wet all of this, and in the process, see, some of these legs are still nice and wet, so I'm just going to lift out some of it. I know to the racetrack to know that sometimes that dirt stuff looks kind of orange, so I'm just going to put some of that in there, like that. Now, I'm going to go back. This is, I know this looks like a mess. Believe me, I know it looks like a mess. But what I'm going to do next is to go into the actual erasers and just start creating some color around what they're up to. Yes, this does look like 6th grade art class, I know that. Okay. Now, I'm going to pull some of this, one of the things I really like to do if I can get away with this, is turn this upside down. Okay, now, look at all the pretty colors, and they're all upside down. That makes it good. Now I'm going to pull some of this out and just create an idea. These colors learn that way. And since I'm working with the idea of a wet track, I'm actually going to put some of these. And I can get too crazy with this, and I often do. It's fine. Kind of reflection, you know, the way water would do. Okay. Now, what we've got is a pretty good first pass. I need to put in. I need to do a little blending here. This is going to kind of go everywhere. Now what I'm going to do is dry this. I'm calling this the underpainting. Okay? Okay, now let's go back and look at the photograph. Obviously, I need to go darker with the horses and leave the light parts light. And then there's some dark areas in there that I have to hit, not hard. But this next step is really kind of where you start painting. But what I've been doing up to this point is just sort of been fun with color and water to a smaller brush. And I'm going to go to a deeper umber color. Figure out where everything is here. Yep, see that? Okay. This all goes pretty quick. actually doing a lot of drawing. Now, one of the important things in any painting is to figure out where the sun's coming from, and the light's coming from this direction. So everything on this side is going to be the lighter areas. And you'll see that developed as I get more into it here. These legs are important. You don't have to have many shapes right, but you need to get a few of them right. Like this guy right here. These legs are interesting because it's amazing they can carry as much weight as they can at those kind of speeds. It is really, the idea is to create abstract shapes that convince the viewer that there's enough reality there to kind of buy into the idea of a racehorse. But it's not that literal. It's not as, I mean, we're not trying to do what a camera can do. We're trying to do something far more impressionistic. I like that so far, if I might say so. And now I've got this gray area that I'm going to go back over. Now this is very loose and very abstract, which is the way I like to paint anyway. It's probably too loose and too abstract, but at least that's a better mistake to make than to be too controlled and tight, something like that. Now my ultimate trick, and the thing I love about watercolor is it's full of tricks, is I take India ink like that, get a pencil, and I go back in and I start drawing. Not in detail, but just in some real general areas. I love it when the water kind of spreads it out. It does some very interesting things. You know, it's interesting when you look at one object and you focus on that one object, everything else is out of focus. So you can create that illusion with watercolor if you are kind of aware of that's what you're trying to do. And then all kinds of wonderful, happy little accent things happen. These horses are actually coming around a turn, which is obvious enough. You don't have to get in any detail at all, but there are just a few little places that are important, like right here. Okay. Let me dry this off so we can set all that. I'm going to take these horses deeper. So I go for that burnt umber color. I've still got the light coming from this direction. This is the lightest area. And then remove the frisket so that those white areas that I have preserved will pop out at us, and then that will inform me on how to complete the painting. It's almost done. What we're doing is removing the frisket that I put down first, and you'll see that it has beautiful white stuff here. I'm doing this with a paper towel, which is not the best. It seems to be working. Just creating a bigger mess, that's all. But even there, you can start to see some of this, the white really gives it definition. And interest and sort of a dynamic quality. The thing about watercolor that makes it unique is that you start with this beautiful piece of white paper and you try not to mess it up. In oil painting, you start with a white canvas, and the first thing you do is cover it up. And so then the struggle is to get it back in a way that makes sense. Gives you an idea of my approach to watercolor, which is fast and loose, full of techniques, little reality, a lot of impressionism. Hope you've enjoyed it.